All right, today we're diving deep into the story of Wille. Now, this is a guy who didn't just want to break the rules, he wanted to prove they were never real to begin with. We're going to talk about what happens when a philosopher's biggest idea goes horribly right.
So just think about it for a second. What if you could rewrite the rules of reality? I mean, not just bending physics, but literally deleting them and starting over, making your own will the only law that truly matters. What kind of person does that make you?
Well, this isn't just some hypothetical question. This is the story of a man who actually went for it. And you know what? The cosmos answered him. It basically said, okay, you got it, but the price tag, well, it was reality itself.
So, let's get into it. The Aristocrat of the Abyss. See, before he was Wille, he was a man named Baron von Nixt, and our story kicks off not in some high-tech lab, but way back in the 19th century. And our guy isn't a hero. He's a scholar with some very dangerous ideas.
So who was this guy, really? Baron Friedrich von Nichts. You can think of him as a sorcerer-philosopher type. He's got this massive intellect, right? But his ego is even bigger. And he's completely obsessed with this one idea from German idealism, that his mind isn't just seeing the world, his mind is literally building it.
To him, the physical world, everything we can see and touch, what philosophers call the phenomenon, was just a cage, a cheap illusion. He was convinced that the real power, the true reality, was in the noumenon, this underlying world of pure thought. And he didn't just want to visit it, he wanted to rule it. So how do you do something like that? Well, he came up with this insanely audacious plan he called the Ritual of the First Negation. The goal? To basically hit delete on the entire external world, on his own body, on mortality itself, and become nothing but pure, absolute will.
Okay, so his whole transformation follows this neat three-step philosophical process. First, you have the thesis. That's the Baron, right? Arrogantly trying to delete reality. But then comes the antithesis. Reality hits back, hard. Turns out, the cosmos has something of an immune system, and he just poked it with a stick. And finally, you get the synthesis. He doesn't die. Instead, he absorbs all that trauma and becomes this new thing. A fractured blend of the man he was and the catastrophe he caused.
Right, antibodies of existence. Because here's the thing, when you tear a hole in the veil of reality, you don't find nothing on the other side. You find guards.
And he got hit by two of these things at the exact same time. On one side, you have Seifel, the demon of doubt. Its whole deal is erasing the world around you, trapping you in a void where only your own mind is real. And on the other side, you've got the pale cynic. It attacks from the inside, hitting you with this soul-crushing boredom and pain until your will to even exist just evaporates.
So you gotta understand, this wasn't just a fist fight. It was a metaphysical trap. He was being crushed from two directions, the belief that the world outside him wasn't real, and the overwhelming feeling that the person inside him didn't even matter. He absolutely should have been wiped from existence. But in that total darkness, with literally nothing left, he fell back on the one thing he still had, his intellect. The Baron started weaponizing the very philosophies that got him into this mess, turning abstract theories into an arsenal.
And we're not talking about magic wands and fireballs here. These are ontological weapons. Think of them as tools that force reality to play by the rules of logic, not physics. He was basically hacking the universe's source code.
His very first weapon was born out of pure desperation. To fight back against Seifel, which was trying to erase the world, he had to do something radical. He had to assert his own existence with such force that it couldn't be denied.
And he pulls this from the philosophy of a guy named Fichte. The basic idea is simple. You, the I, define yourself by what you are not, which is the rest of the world, the not I. So if the not I is disappearing, the only way to survive is to make your sense of I so powerful, so absolute, that it holds everything together.
And this is where that philosophy becomes a truly terrifying power. It's called the Fichtean grip. He touches an object, declares I am I, and his mind just absorbs it, recategorizes it as part of himself. So he's not lifting a 50-ton tank, he's just moving his arm, which now happens to be a 50-ton tank. But the danger is huge. If he does this too much, he could literally lose track of where he ends and the world begins, suffering from what's called solipsism syndrome.
And get this, even his fancy aristocratic walking stick got caught up in all this. In the chaos of that void, it was twisted and warped by these forces of creation and destruction, becoming a physical symbol of the very process that remade him.
They call it the schizocane, and it's basically the bladed dialectic.
It's got three parts that mirror his transformation. The blade itself, it doesn't cut matter, it cuts concepts. It could literally slice the gravity away from a car. Then you've got the sheath, which can shoot out energy to either create matter or just annihilate it. And when you put them together, a shockwave that rewrites local reality, forcing everything around it into that same violent cycle of destruction and rebirth that he went through.
So, a fracture in reality, because the man who came back from that ordeal, he wasn't the same man who went in. Baron von Nixt was gone. In his place was Derville, a walking, talking crack in the very fabric of existence.
So this is his new reality. He's in a constant state of becoming, never really stable. That limp he has, it's a physical scar from a metaphysical fight. And now he wanders the streets of Aethelgard with a new purpose, using that incredible will of his to hold reality together, to keep it from collapsing back into the chaos that he unleashed.
And that's the beautiful, tragic irony of it all, isn't it? The one man whose arrogance and ambition shattered the rules of reality is now the only person who can enforce them. He's a living paradox, a force for cosmic stability that was born from an act of total instability.
But he's never really alone in this fight. The pale cynic, that specter of futility, it's always there. You can't kill it because it's not a creature, it's a truth. The truth of suffering, of meaninglessness. It's that nagging voice in the back of his head constantly whispering, "Why bother? It's all pointless anyway."
And that leaves us with one last really chilling thought. Derville's entire power comes from his will to force order onto chaos. So, what happens when the man holding our reality together just gets tired of fighting? What happens when he finally listens to that voice and agrees?